Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode, obviously for a number of reasons. Number one, I love the interview episodes because it gives all of you, the listeners, a chance to really hear the stories and the journeys that other people have been on to get to where they are. And obviously with the over 200 interviews that you've listened to on this podcast, it hasn't been a straight line for any one of those people. There's ups and downs, twists and turns. But the other reason why I'm excited is the person that I have for you guys today. We share similar core values, and that is being resilient, not just in life, but in business as well. And I think that's such an important trait and such a powerful trait for someone to have, because no matter what you're going through or growing through in life, having that core value of being resilient will allow you to move through anything like water. So he's called the Comeback Coach, and I have him here for all of you today. So with that behind us, Richard Kaufman, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I'm pumped to be here. Guys, this is a great episode. And by the way, if your numbers have gone up, it's because I've been downloading every episode you put out. So I absolutely love the show. So I just want to say I'm truly humbled and grateful to be able to be on and come and hang out with you.
Well, the honor is all mine, and it's a privilege also to just interview people, because that's, the part of being a human being. We want to connect, and we want to, obviously learn from each other, and that's exactly why you're here today. So, Richard, before we get into everything that you're doing as the Comeback Coach and helping people that, are maybe down and out or looking to make a pivot or have some sort of obstacle that they're looking to overcome in their life and their business. Let's talk about you first. And, the one question that I love opening with is, with where you are right now and in looking back at your journey, if you could put your finger on the catalytic moment that kind of set you on this path that you're now currently on, what was that moment for you?
I can't give you one answer because there's actually four. There was one. I actually robbed a gentleman when I was younger. I was looking at 5 years for grand larceny. He let me go and had me get some help. So without him, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. Also, if it wasn't for 9/11, I would not be the man that I am today. That totally changed my life. Memorial Day 2012 was the day that I attempted suicide. Thank God I didn't go through with it. And then 6 months later, I had lunch with Gary Vee, and he totally changed my life and got me on the track that I'm on today. So I'm sorry I don't have one answer. I have like four.
Well, sometimes four is better than none. Now, let's talk about, obviously, there's a lot of things to dig in there. From a personal standpoint, with the possibility of getting 5 years for grand larceny and the person kind of saying no, it's, kind of just letting the whole thing go. What kind of self-reflection did you do at that time where, you were given a second chance? And, I believe everybody deserves a second chance. When you came out on the other end of that, not obviously serving 5 years for grand larceny, what kind of self-reflection did you do, and what positive things did you take from it?
Well, from that, and it was funny that the guy that I robbed was actually a police officer. So figuring that he gave me my break, which is kind of amazing in itself. The self-reflection was like, man, that was really stupid. But he told me, he said, you can give me my money back and you can go to 90 meetings of AA in 90 days, or you can go do 5 years in jail. So I chose the meetings and give him his money back. And I hit something like 360 meetings in a row, and I haven't had a drink since New Year's Eve, 1989. So for me, I've always had an angel somewhere always looking out for me. So that's probably what I reflect on is any bad part of my life. There's always been somebody that's always taken the arrows for me, even when I wasn't strong enough.
Now, 9/11 was an interesting time in all of our lives. I think no matter how young or how old you were, everybody was affected by that day. It's one of those things that it does live in infamy. Um, for a lot of people, and I think everybody remembers where they were. You know, as we kind of traverse through life, there's different pivotal moments. As you said, there were four specific moments, and obviously it culminated with having lunch with Gary V, who I've always loved his content, and I believe that he does stay top of mind, and for many people, and you know the journey that he's actually been on to get to where he is, you know, from that lunch that you had with Gary Vaynerchuk, what were the big things that kind of stuck with you in that lunch that again, you can call it the parting of the Red Sea, the skies opened up. What were those things that you learned in that lunch that kind of just sent you on this path?
Well, I told him my backstory and how I was with GNC for over 30 years, and I worked with guys from the NFL, Major League Baseball, WWE, blah blah blah. But then, when I told him, I've come back from drug addiction, alcoholism, homelessness, PTSD, a traumatic brain injury, 80% blindness, and that I coach people, he's like, bro, you're the comeback coach. So he actually came out with the whole name, comeback coach. And then I said, well, Gary, I don't know what to do. I want to help people. He's like, I want you to write a book, and I want you to put all the dirty shit you've ever done, put it out in a book. I was dumb enough and I did it. So and he was the impetus for the book. And then I started a Monday night live called the Monday Night Comeback, a Facebook live show when Facebook was actually good at one point. And and then I started a podcast, and now it's just taken off from there to a number one book, to having clothes and coffee company, a whole bunch of crap. But if it wasn't for Gary V, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. And the one thing, I said, Gary, I'm not walking out of here unless you give me a nugget of something that's going to change my life. And he said, Rich, your legacy will always be more valuable than your currency. And from that moment on is when I started everything I do. It's all about legacy. It's not about the currency. It's all about the legacy. So that's all I'm doing is just trying to change people's legacies, and so people can actually start being the fathers, the husbands, the wives, and build the legacy that their children and their families deserve.
So when we talk about the word legacy, obviously that's something that some people can wrap their minds and hearts around, and there's other people that can't. So for that person that's listening to this that says, Rich, I don't even know what my legacy, I don't even know what I want it to be. For getting that person to kind of start seeing things a little bit differently about what their legacy actually means for them and those around them, how does one start to kind of really dig into the legacy that they want to create and leave behind?
Well, that's when I had somebody on my show, and we were talking about being a parent. And I have a 10-year-old daughter. I got an 18-year-old son and a 20-year-old son. And I struggle with being a parent because I didn't have a father. And he said, you know what? Whenever you're talking to your daughter, you're talking to you at 10 years old. And it really hit me. And then he said, your legacy is who's the man that you would love to see in your future, that you would have loved to have been in your life in the future. So that's why I think, legacy is, what kind of man that I want to be in the future, that my kids can look up to, that when I'm gone. That's why I wrote the book. One of the reasons, so when I'm gone, they can say, well, Grandpa went through a lot, but he helped a lot of people. And for me, I think if I can save one life, it's kind of like that whole ripple effect. If I could just throw that one stone into the lake, the whole world's going to change. So that's my whole goal, is to change, even just one person say, you know what, if that guy made it, if that ninth grade dropout made it and he's living the dream, I can do it too.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, life is a very complex but simple thing. And, the fact that you're the comeback coach, I think every single person has a comeback story. So let's talk about that first client, because again, everyone finds their zone of genius or the skill set that they possess that allows them to lean into it, to write that book, to have that podcast. What would you say, you learned most from that first client that you helped really, either shift or pivot to start their comeback story? What was the biggest lesson that you learned working with that individual?
Well, actually, I was with GNC at the time, and this big guy comes in, and I was like, "Oh my God, this guy's a mountain of a man." He was like 350 pounds, and his name was Adam Geddes. He was actually an offensive tackle for the Redskins and just got traded to the Giants. And then he was having knee problems. So we actually sat down and started talking about what supplements would be great for his knee. And then he came back like 6 weeks later and he says, I got great news. I'm like, he's like, my knee is a lot better. He's like, but I got better news. I got signed to a contract extension. And that moment, I'm like, wow, here, how can this guy, a ninth grade dropout, recovering addict, how can I help him change his career? And now him and his family can live the life that they deserve. So that's when it really hit me hard that maybe, I had to learn the hard way, but maybe what I'm taught, maybe I can help others, even though I didn't have the background and the schooling and stuff like that.
So if someone was to ask you what makes Richard's coaching different from other coaches out there that may be doing something similar, what would you say to that question?
I'm the biggest empath that there will ever be. Somebody once asked me if I was going to be something for Halloween, I said I would be empathy man. I said because I have empathy for people, and I care about you as the person. The results will come, but I care about you as a person, and if we're going to work together, I'm just not going to put something in my computer and spit it out. And well, that's the way we're going to go because everybody's different. So whatever, I want to know what gets you excited, what gets you motivated, and what touches you. That's the important things to me. To me, like I said, and talking about networking, I know we're going to get into it. I'm big on LinkedIn. I think we got almost 30,000 connections. I'm a big relationship guy, and I tell everybody that I ever meet, if I meet you, I want to build a generational relationship. So that's the difference with me. I mean, like I said, I'm still friends with Adam. He's been retired from the NFL for 5 or 6 years, but we're still friends. So for me, it's built about building those relationships to knowing if I know if I have a question about, say, cooking, I can reach out to one of the Iron Chefs, Simon Majumdar. He's going to answer my questions because we built relationships over the last 5-6 years. So that's what makes me different than I guess a lot of other coaches because I'm just not, push and play. I don't believe in that.
Yeah, relationship marketing and relationship building is essential for any business. But if people want to learn really how to grow and scale anything, you want to build a network and a database of people that know who you are and what you do, because all of those external conversations can be swung back around, to you if you're connecting with people the right way, you're building those relationships, you're establishing rapport. All that is so vital and so important. Now, for that person that's listening to this that is saying, Scott, Richard, I'm down and out, I can't see, the sky above, I'm in this hole, I'm in a dark place. What's your message to that person that is feeling like there's no way out and they've tried everything and, whether it's in life or in business and they failed and nothing that they're doing is working? What's your message to that person?
Go find somebody else that has it worse than you. because my father, he just passed away on Valentine's Day. He always, he came over the boat on Italy. He came over the boat. They always have those weird sayings, and he said, "The man with no shoes can't complain to the man with no feet." So for me, if I like when I know that if I'm struggling with money, I'm going to go find somebody else that has it worse than me, and I'm going to give to them, because in turn, the world is going to give it back to me. So that's what I would say is, if you're struggling with anything, whatever the exact thing you're struggling with, go to somebody else that's struggling even worse, and start, realizing, because like something, I had David Meltzer on the show a couple months ago, and he said, you know what, gratitude and anger cannot occupy the same spot. So if you're feeling angry, you're feeling depressed, find something to be grateful for. So that would be what I would say.
There's gratitude in anything and everything each day, and I love your analogy. I'm big on analogies too, and it's one thing that I always come back to is that no matter how I love what Simon Sinek says. He says no matter how dark the tunnel may be that you're in, there's always a light at the end of it. You just need to keep walking in order to see it. And that's my big belief, is that Marie Forleo talks about all the time, everything in life is figure outable. It is. Human beings by nature are solution oriented people, right? We are solution oriented. When we needed fire, we figured out a way to make it. If we wanted to travel, we figured out how to make the wheel. All those things. There are so many things that we have done and had to overcome to get to where we are. Now, for all the comeback stories that you have had yourself personally, what would you say is the most proud comeback story of your own that you like to share most with people?
I guess for me would be, I think it's 3 years, January 30th, I lost 80% of my vision. And I was in a really deep, dark place, contemplating suicide again. And my friends reach out to me and be like, bro, you're the comeback coach. You got to come back. So for me to be able to, not even be able to see, and then be able to start a podcast, to have people like Tony Watley on, Dean Graziosi, people like that come on the show. For me, that's the great thing, is that it goes to show that, you don't have to, you can start a business, a podcast with nothing but a phone, and you can bring it into, having a coffee company, a t-shirt company. All you have to do is get out and start doing something. A lot of people will say, well, I don't have the right equipment to do a podcast. And I'm like, did you ever see some of Gary's first videos at garage sales with a flip camera, but it's got like 12 million views? So, it's just starting. And I tell everybody, no matter what you want to do, even Kobe Bryant was a rookie. Any of the great ones, they were rookies. They had a first day. And if you're going to start a podcast, your first, like my mentor, John Lee Dumas, says, your first 100 episodes are going to suck anyway. So you might as well just do it. So that would be the proudest moment for me, is just to be voted the top veteran Army podcast in the world, and be able to be a top 5 podcast in the world, starting from nothing but an iPhone.
Yeah, a couple things. I started my podcast from my iPhone as well, and didn't really know what I was doing. And I heard about an app that Gary mentioned called Anchor, and I downloaded it that day and started it up. And the Common Path to Uncommon Success is one of my favorite books of all time. It's actually a book that we gift any of our mastermind members, and that John Lee Dumas book really shifted things for us. And he's actually coming on my podcast in a couple of weeks. So, really excited to be interviewing him. Now,
he's a brother. He's an
awesome guy,
dude.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I had him on. Now, I've had, Mr. Steve Sims on. He's been on the show, but I ask people questions that they'll never get asked on another podcast. Like I asked John Lee Dumas, everybody wants to know about his million downloads a month that he gets. And I asked him, what was it like losing a tank crew when you were in Iraq? How did you deal with, coming home and being suicidal? And he's like, wow, nobody's ever asked me that question. Because when you come on my show, I want to talk about the dark stuff because that makes the light so much brighter when somebody's gone through some stuff and they come out the other side. You know what I mean? So be prepared.
I like not knowing what is being asked, so that's
Yeah.
I'll be more than ready for that. Now, let's talk about the comeback coaching that you do. So, for someone that's listening to this, who's the ideal person that is a best fit for Richard Kaufman, and what can that person expect by working with you in whatever they're dealing with in their life and or business?
Well, something that I learned from John Lee, because he's my personal mentor. He's been mentoring me for about 3 years now. My perfect avatar is the man that I was 5 years ago, and the man I'm going to be 5 years from now. So, for a person, if they're going to work with me, my perfect avatar right now is a 25 to 45 male, father of three, veteran or veteran business owner. And if they work with me, they're going to get tough love. I'm going to be that guy. I'm not going to say, oh, I feel bad. I mean, I'll empathize with you, but you're going to have to get off your ass and do some work. So, I'm not going to be that. I'm that tough love kind of guy. I guess 23 years in the military taught me, if we're guys, we can say, listen, bro, you kind of screwed the pooch on this one. Let's start over again. But I'm also going to be that guy if we get together, and meet for lunch. You're still going to get a big hug because that's the way I like to build relationships. And like I said, we're going to build a relationship. This way, you always have somebody in your corner. And if you need that to call somebody at 3 a.m., I will be the guy that will pick up the phone.
I love that. Now, if someone is ready to move forward or they want to learn more deeply about you, your podcast and all your offerings, what's the best way for people to get in touch?
I'm all over social media. I'm on the first 4 pages of Google. All they got to do is Google Vertical Momentum Podcast because of Gary. We're all over the first 4 pages. So we're everywhere. I think we're on 24 different platforms right now. So anywhere you Vertical Momentum Podcast, you'll find me. And I'm easily accessible. My phone number is always available. And I'm always available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Awesome. Now, final question, Richard, before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
It's not money. It's definitely, that's one thing. Success would be, and I answered that question this way. And I have to throw it, if you have a second. A couple years ago, 2 of my uncles passed away. One was an older man. He just kept to himself, didn't bother with anybody really. And at his funeral, the only people that were there were his immediate family. Then I had a younger uncle that passed away, but he was a man that was always helping people, always engaging with people, always caring and loving on and hugging on people. And when he passed away, they had to have 4 funeral services. And so I actually did something like Dean Graziosi talks about. I actually wrote out my obituary. So now, what my legacy is going to be what people walk up to my daughter, tell them about me. And if they said, well, your dad helped me not take that gun out and blow my brains out, that's what success will be to me. Not the houses, not the cars, not the jewelry. I mean, they're all nice things. I mean, I believe that in life, we don't own anything. God lets us borrow it. And if we get to enjoy it, but we came with nothing, we leave with nothing. So for me, if I can, success would be somebody come up to my daughter and said, your dad was a stand-up guy. Then that would be success in my life.
Love that. Like I said, I'm close to 460 episodes in with this podcast and have interviewed close to 250 people. And I can't recall anyone saying success is money. There's always something compounded from it. And whether it's time freedom, whether it's more time with family, having the opportunity to live life on your own terms, whatever it is. Success is not a monetary value. It's a feeling. It's a way that you're living your life. And you explain that beautifully, and just really grateful to have you on the podcast. And I know that my audience is going to take away so much from this. And again, all the information that you left as far as how to connect with you, obviously those links will be in the podcast description. And Richard, just grateful for you, your connection, and obviously the time that you gave my audience today. So thank you for being here.
I'm blessed. I'm so blessed and honored. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So as always, wherever you're listening to this to and from, if you are on Apple, please leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most about the podcast episode. And don't forget, the subscription to this podcast officially kicked off about a month and a half ago. So for $2.99 a month, you can actually unlock a Friday bonus episode that is privy to you and you only. And the link to do so is in the description of this episode. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.